Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to another media conference convened by the governing Jamaica Labour Party. This media conference comes after our successful general election campaign, which culminated on the 3rd of September with the Jamaica Labour Party commanding a majority of the seats in the Parliament. I want to say a special welcome to those tuned in online, those who are watching this media conference from outside of Jamaica. We appreciate your viewership. Hello as well to our media partners who have attended upon this media conference and who are watching online as well. A special welcome as well to former Member of Parliament for Northern Clarendon and former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Pernell Charles Sr., who has joined us today at Belmont Road at the party headquarters for this media conference. To my far right is Kamina Johnson-Smith, a member of a leading spokesperson of the Jamaica Labour Party's Communication Task Force. And to my right is the Honourable Dr. Chris Tufton, our campaign committee chairman. Without any further delay, I turn over to Dr. Tufton for his comments.
Thank you very much, Akka, my colleague, Minister Johnson-Smith, distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the audience and those in cyberspace. I hear that's not the right term, but almost. Thank you for joining us. The People's National Party had a press briefing recently, sometime today, and we, in keeping with attempting to facilitate a smooth transition, having heard the voice of the Jamaican people as expressed through the ballot, felt it necessary to respond. Mic check, no mic. Mic check. Is it? No, it's not. Microphone check. It's on? Oh, okay. All right, sorry about that. So I was saying in keeping with the desire of the duly elected government of the Jamaica Labour Party led by Dr. Andrew Holness to alleviate the fears and concerns that may be generated from the approach and the tone of that press briefing, to facilitate a smooth transition which is in keeping with our democratic tradition. We felt that it was necessary to call the media together and to provide some clarity and response to what we here can characterize based on an assessment of that press briefing as saying one thing but insinuating several other things which are not in keeping with our democracy and the democratic principles that we have fought so hard for. I'm prepared to capture my few comments under the theme of an organization, the PNP that is, that are attempting to justify why they lost without any evidence to support the innuendos, the hearsays and rumors of what they think, as opposed to a process of self-reflection where it is clear that they fell short, that the Jamaican people expressed their confidence in this party and this government to continue. None of that was captured in their reflection at their press briefing. Neither was there any substantial evidence to support the various claims that they made. And this for us is unfortunate, and it only serves, we believe, to fuel a level of uncertainty, perhaps even anger by their supporters, as has been characterized by their campaign generally, not to mention the rumors that were a feature of that particular campaign. Sour grapes is how I am tempted to describe this response coming out of the elections. The facts are that they lost. The people have expressed their will to continue with this government, which we are grateful for. And what I would advise, even though it's not my place so to do, the PNP to do, is to engage in their own process of self-reflection to determine why they fell short and what they may need to do to be an effective opposition over the next term. For starters, the PNP sought to cast doubt on the electoral process by calling for an independent inquiry into the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. The reality is that after every general election, there is a process of review that is automatic almost by the representatives on the Electoral Commission and the independent members. Obviously, for those who don't know, there are representatives from both political organizations, PNP and the JLP, who are present and who are part of the governance and implementation arrangements of our electoral process supported in law. And so the PNP cannot claim a disadvantage in this regard. And if they identify weaknesses, then clearly they must also place some of that responsibility on their own members. But the process of review is normally an automatic one, as I understand it. However, to extend that, which is what I think they attempted to do, sometimes even without saying it, to suggest that that may have impacted the final results of the elections, to attempt to give an impression that somehow it may have impacted their number 2 or second place position, is, as far as we are concerned, guilty by hearsay. And that is what they're engaged in. And this is wrong. And we reject that, we condemn them for that, and we would ask them to either provide the evidence of this or cease and desist from making these wild accusations, which clearly fuels a level of speculation and anger that is not good for democracy and certainly not good for the transition that is taking place. The other point that I want to raise is the explicit comment around voter suppression and vote buying. Now, again, they have not provided any evidence. In fact, their position is that, as seen on social media, again, rumors, hearsay, innuendos, which from our perspective does not reflect truth, because there is no evidence to suggest it. It is again a case of the PNP engaging in guilty by hearsay, which clearly is not appropriate and does not augur well for a democratic tradition. So again, we say to them, if they have the evidence, they should provide the evidence, and let the law take its course. We have seen cases on social media too, suggesting on their side, persons making comments. We have maintained our position to go out there and do the work and to ensure that our supporters or workers provide the appropriate representation as part of the campaign and hence impact the outcome of those elections. Their willingness to advance in an assertive way through a press conference that somehow voter suppression and vote buying may, and again, it's both explicitly stated but also implicitly transmitted, may have affected the outcome of the elections, again, to our mind, is a case of sour grapes. And what they need to do is to engage in their own process of self-reflection to determine exactly what they may have done wrong to place them in that position. We don't mind because we have done well and we have made our point and our case to the Jamaican people. You know, there's a history around this issue of voter suppression and vote buying. Not one that we want to dwell on, but it was in 2019 that their own General Secretary, or former General Secretary Paul Burke, reported in the media that comrades, and I'm quoting him, have no moral authority to condemn anyone for vote buying. Now, we have not made that an issue, but since they have raised it, we can respond by saying their own internal functionaries, certainly in that period, have made comments about vote buying as a matter of recognition that it has happened in their camp. We have no such occurrence, not to my memory anyway, and therefore we want to again condemn that statement or that insinuation and urge the People's National Party to engage in their own self-reflection about where they went wrong, as opposed to trying to blame others for their defeat at the polls. The other point I want to raise is the point around their comments around the conduct of their campaign. And their point is that they fell short even though they ran a good campaign. Now, normally we wouldn't make this an issue. We felt that the better side won, the better team won, and that is good enough for us. And we are now focused on how we manage and lead on behalf of the Jamaican people. But we felt compelled to make a comment since they raised it, that they didn't run the better campaign. And I say so with conviction, with commitment to truth. For starters, the Jamaican people supported the better team, partly because of our performance over the years and our effectiveness to the extent that more people supported us than supported them, of communicating our performance and communicating the quality of our candidates, the quality and leadership of our own leader, and of course the commitments that we have made through our manifesto going forward. We believe that we ran the better campaign also, and very importantly, because our campaign, unlike theirs, was not characterized by anger, rumors, innuendos, accusations without evidence, much in keeping with the press conference that they just had, where they attempted to character assassinate so many individuals, not focused on programs and policies, rather focusing on personalities every chance that they got. And again, we believe that that was bad for our democracy, bad for Jamaica, and bad for bringing the country forward, which is why partly we believe that the people of Jamaica supported the Jamaica Labour Party for the third term. I want to close my segment by saying a final point. There is a narrative by some in the PNP, some by their surrogates, that somehow this government is a minority government, almost insinuating that somehow we are not a legitimately elected government. We obviously reject that outrightly, and we condemn those who push that narrative. It's a dangerous narrative. For starters, our democracy has always operated on the majority will of the electorate as it relates to seat count. We won the majority of the seats, and that is enough conclusion that we are the legitimate authority to carry the country forward. Secondly, we were declared by the Electoral Commission of Jamaica as the party, the political organization that got the majority of the seats. And the numbers are there. The recounts took place. The willingness of persons to lodge complaints, to do recounts, all of that process has worked. And that, again, should be enough evidence to support the legitimacy of the administration. So we want to discourage that narrative among those who are looking on and encourage the Jamaican people. Let us focus on how we move forward as a government to serve the people of Jamaica, and to do so in a collaborative way. And let us not be distracted by the utterances of an opposition which is still sobbing over their loss and misplaced focusing on things that are not really helping the cause of democracy, but rather trying to shift responsibility from their own inadequacies to blaming everybody else, including the system. There is a distinction between the legitimacy of a government as served by the democratic process and the need to work together to improve the non-participation of persons 18 years and older. Apathy has always been a challenge within our democracy. The two are not the same. And from our perspective, we must all work together, including the PNP, to do more to engage and to attract greater participation in the democratic process. That has absolutely nothing to do with the elected government, elected political organization, which we are, having gone through a competitive process. And I think those who try to conflate both issues are being misplaced in their position. This government finally will work and continue to work to advance the welfare and the well-being of the Jamaican people, with Andrew Holness as our leader and Prime Minister, and in his judgment, a team forming the cabinet that he will announce momentarily. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris. During his media conference earlier today, we are advised that the embattled opposition leader and his legal advisor made a few comments about St. Andrew West Central and the conduct of the polls on the 3rd of September. We invite Kamina to make a few comments on this matter.
Thank you. Thanks to you both. Good afternoon, everyone. Members of the media here with us, as well as those who have joined us online. Good afternoon always to all the persons who follow us on social media, who are participating, and in particular, our members of the Jamaican community overseas or diaspora. We know you've been following things closely and you continue to do so. And we welcome that you continue to maintain this strong connection with Jamaica. On the matter of the press conference called by the PNP today, I want to say that I sit here today again with a great feeling of disappointment. I would be surprised if a lot of Jamaicans don't join us in the feeling that when the leader of the opposition, the leader of the PNP, on the night of September 3rd, conceded, it was gracious. And in that context, I think we apparently mistakenly believed that there was therefore a recognition that there is generally a better way to do things in support of Jamaica and in support of democracy. The press conference that was called today put all of that to rest once more, as the PNP lost another opportunity to do better. The PNP has said they took the time to expressly state that they won't be filing any magisterial recount in any constituency. And for those who are not aware, normally that's the process taken where there's a close enough election for people to feel that if they follow the count really closely, that they may be able to change the result. So usually find that there are margins of less than 100 and in fact, usually significantly less than that. And a process, part of the democratic process, where the lawyers attend and ensure that the intention of the voter is seen. So they have said that they're not doing that, regardless of the fact, of course, that the time has already passed for them to have been able to do so. They took the time this morning to say they're not doing that. They, however, have decided that in a seat where the victory was proclaimed with a margin of 2,110 votes. That is the seat of St. Andrew West Central, the seat in which the Most Honorable Andrew Holness was the successful candidate, that they're contemplating a constitutional motion in respect of that result. They spoke of irregularities, but gave no details of their allegations. They're broadly referencing social media again. And it's difficult to say anything other than that the party finds the position taken by the PNP in respect of St. Andrew West Central to be baseless, to be frivolous, to be yet another indicator of a sense of desperation and an unwillingness to face the results and enter into introspection. The PNP not having exercised their right to file for a magisterial recount and to now take this position raises its own set of questions. And I just want to share a few more considerations why it is that we feel that this step is so wrong-footed and unfortunate. Having consulted with the Jamaica Labour Party representatives on the ECJ, it's our information and our best information that the presiding officers, that the returning officer and the electoral day workers deployed in the polling stations on election day, including those in West Central, that none of them reported any irregularities in West Central St. Andrew to the designated authorities. We're also advised that the Electoral Office of Jamaica's Election Center, where representatives of both major political parties sit, along with several wide-ranging independent representatives, received absolutely no complaints about any irregularity in St. Andrew West Central on general election day. Furthermore, it's our information that the constituted authority, which has the power to stop the holding of an election in a particular constituency where irregularities are perceived, so they can actually do that in the course of the day. And this authority is chaired by the chairman of the Electoral Commission. They also received no report of any irregularity in the constituency on election day. So the several legal bodies or constituted bodies which are empowered to take decisions in respect of irregularities, none of them received any reports. The margin of 2,110 votes is similar to the margin that has been reflected in this seat consistently since 2002. And in fact, in particular, in respect of the Seaward primary polling stations, which were the last ones to come in, I think everyone remembers the nail-biting moments where the television stations had the Prime Minister as trailing, I believe was the language used, because those winning boxes were not in. And they're not winning boxes this election. Every election, the electors who vote in Seaward primary polling stations vote overwhelmingly in support of their preferred candidate, Andrew Michael Holness. And the PNP in those polling stations generally doesn't even get 100 votes. It's not unusual. You see it in constituencies across the whole length and breadth of Jamaica. There are some polling stations that vote overwhelmingly in support of a particular candidate. In the Prime Minister's constituency, Seaward primary polling stations do generally produce these very high margins. And the numbers are there. This is not, difficult research to conduct. I was trying to find my little graph because I had the chart, but unfortunately misplaced it before we sat down today. But the numbers are quite clear that this margin is not unusual. And it's in that overall context, in the totality of those circumstances, that it's very difficult to say that the PNP's, to say anything other than the fact that the PNP's approach today, the matter that they are contemplating, is without basis. It is mischievous and, again, demonstrative of a lack of readiness to lead. If they can't even lead in opposition, how could they lead in government when they really cannot take any opportunity to just be big? It's very disappointing. I want to raise one more issue, and this is one of particular legal concern for us. And in addition to the points which the Chairman Tufton raised, the fact that we too have heard persons making allegations in respect of vote buying and voter suppression of the, on the part of the PNP. But these are things that you wait to try to get evidence for, you make an inquiry, but nothing has really brought those issues fully together. What does, however, provide us with greater and more concrete concern is the issue of the leader of the opposition touring constituencies apart from his own on election day and in being in the vicinity of polling stations outside of his constituency on election day. Videos and photographs of this activity have now come to hand, including his visit in the precincts of a polling station in central Kingston in particular. We're of the view, the considered legal view, that the conduct of the opposition leader on general election day, September 3rd, 2025, is inconsistent with the provisions of the Representation of the People's Act, and we will say more on this at a later date. I thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Kamina, for comprehensive comments. We exist in a world where disinformation, misinformation, and fake news are prevalent. It is clear, and it has become clear, due to the conduct during the general election campaign, that the PNP is prepared to utilize these dark arts to advance their interest. The Jamaica Labour Party, and I indicated this from as early as April last year, is prepared to respond strongly to any act or any utterances of misinformation, disinformation, and fake news put forward into the public domain by the PNP. The calling of this media conference is confirmation of our position in terms of our preparedness to respond strongly to these acts by the opposition. I now open the floor for questions. Please introduce yourself, your media house, and ask your question.
Afternoon, Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News here. Is the Prime Minister prepared to respond to questions about his victory in West Central St. Andrew?
What questions? Meaning, I've just laid out the facts. And again, I was speaking to Abka before about the fact that I didn't have the chart with the numbers for the elections in 2020, 2016, 2007. They are quite clear that there are trends in the voting which are absolutely aligned with and consistent with what took place in this 2025 election. So there are no questions, and none of the relevant and empowered and appropriately legally constituted bodies, the returning officers, the presiding officer, the election day workers, the constituted authority, the electoral center, none of these bodies received any such reports. So where it only seems that these are raised by the PNP in order to create another line of discussion, to take the discussion away from questions like, Mr. Golding, are you going to resign in the same way Dr. Phillips did? Are you going to resign in the same way Mrs. Simpson Miller did? That type of question. That the GenSec, Dr. Campbell, having failed in your first bid as General Secretary of the PNP, will you resign? Will you offer it to your leader of the opposition? They want to take the media and the national discussion away from those questions. So they raise something which is quite frankly a non-issue, and it's why I took the time to point out that they have not taken action in the seats that it would be logical. So if you won or lost something closely, if you lost a seat closely, one would think you'd follow up with a magisterial recount to see what's possible. You have not done that in any of the close seats, and there were a few. But you have decided that with a margin of 2,110, with consistent voting patterns and no reports of any actual irregularities, that this is where you're going to raise public attention. It's nothing more than political mischief making.
Yeah. Can I also say that this is a pattern by the PNP even during the campaign itself, where they try to define our agenda by raising these issues, and they've done it right through the campaign. It's been a characteristic feature. We, on the other hand, have maintained our focus on what our campaign is and what clearly is in the best interest of the Jamaican people. For the Most Honorable Prime Minister to give a response to this issue would be an insult to the people who elected him. It would be a distraction, an insult to the process that took him there and allowed the people who elected him to elect him. And frankly speaking, a distraction from the greater good that he must now serve as Prime Minister in driving the policies, the new vision, the programs to move us forward. So, you know, I think we say here with levels of certainty and confidence that this is a non-issue, and it's another bogeyman by the PNP in an attempt at distractions. And the people have rejected that clearly in terms of the outcome of the elections.
Thank you.
Second question. You mentioned Dr. Dayton Campbell earlier. In light of the comments he made at this morning's media briefing, do you believe that his tenure or his status as an ECJ commissioner is tenable?
You know, the electoral process allows for the political organizations to determine who represents them. The PNP should make that determination clearly. From our perspective, you know, it is a potential, should I say, conflict somewhat for him to hold one position where he had the opportunity and has had the opportunity with legitimacy and authority to represent the best interests of the electoral process, and while being there is now using the opportunity to criticize the very entity that he was a part of. I think the Jamaican people is smart enough to understand the anomaly and the conflict in that position. And my own view is that his moral authority to lead and to provide representation is compromised. But that's their business, and I don't think we should get bogged down too much in their business. Let them say what they want, let the people decide. The people have already decided as it relates to the elections. If they want to further dig a hole for themselves, that's their response, that's their business.
And in support of what Chris has said, the people of Jamaica might recall that Dr. Campbell made two comments in the lead up to the general election, which caused the ECJ to have to put out statements of clarity. In the first instance, he suggested that he was purchasing integrity lamps to be used to scrutinize voters' IDs of electors. The ECJ put out a statement indicating that such an activity would be inappropriate. Then Dr. Campbell issued a statement where he purported to suggest that he might have some idea of the voting pattern or how election day workers and members of the security forces voted. The ECJ again issued a statement where there was a line in the statement which indicated that there's no way for any individual to assert with any certainty concerning how election day workers or any elector voted. Dr. Campbell might want to contemplate that he is doing a disservice to the good name of the ECJ, which is an institution that has served Jamaica very well over many years in the aftermath of a country which has been afflicted by political violence.
Thank you. Kelisha Williams, Television Jamaica. Going back to the points you made earlier in regards to, you mentioned wild accusations and the PNP's press conference being laced with innuendos, and you spoke specifically about the voter suppression and vote buying. So my question is the Jamaica Labour Party outrightly denying those allegations that there were voter suppression or vote buying in the September 3rd general election?
Is the Jamaica Labour Party what? Sorry?
Denying.
Denying.
Yeah.
Listen, we operate with a process. I have no knowledge of it. If someone has knowledge, they should bring it forward. That's what we're saying. You can't just go out there and say, wolf, wolf, and have no evidence, no basis on which to say it. Now, I am not going to swear for thousands and thousands of people who have been involved in the electoral process. What I'll say is that from a policy perspective, as a political organization, the Jamaica Labour Party, as a policy, does not support vote buying. We have not given any instruction for vote buying to take place. We have gone out there on our policies, our achievements, our manifesto, our political organization, the quality of our leadership at both the party as well as the constituency, and we believe the people have responded positively sufficient to place us back in office. Now, a responsible political organization cannot just go out there and start to spew allegations, particularly in the context that they have lost, as a means of trying to almost legitimize their loss, because that's what they seem to be doing. We're not going to subscribe to that. So I'm giving you a long-winded response. It's not our policy so to do. And if the PNP thinks that it is happening, they should provide the evidence. Otherwise, they should shut up. They should shut up, and I say so as diplomatically as possible, and focus on being an opposition, because democracy requires an opposition in the parliament. And we don't have a problem with that. We are the government, and the government in waiting, they are the opposition. They should go focus on their opposition role and let us focus on being the government, because that's what the people's wishes have confirmed.
And quite interesting is that the PNP said that they got information from social media, but the evidence is not sufficient to confirm the allegations, yet they brought it to a media conference. Our view is that this business of something is said on social media, and therefore that's the barometer to bring it to the platform of a media conference, is not acceptable. It's an indicator of the desperation of the PNP. And the PNP General Secretary might want to contemplate that there's a lot of things being said. There are a lot of things being said on social media, including about him.
Absolutely.
Does that mean that it's appropriate to bring those allegations to the platform of a media conference? I think not.
And that's so true. I won't say anything more to that, but you're absolutely right. Social media is never the basis on which to make these wild and broad statements.
Thank you. Next question.
Good afternoon. I'm Moy Harriet from CVM. My first question, Dr. Tufton, you spoke about being back in government. So this time around, we would have seen where the Jamaica Labour Party, your majority has reduced. As a party, what do you make of this result? Do you think that perhaps, there must have been some sort of voter dissatisfaction, or could it be something else?
Okay, so first of all, I think it needs to be clear that the majority of the people have expressed confidence in the Jamaica Labour Party to continue. And that for us is a vote of confidence. We have never said during our campaign that everything was perfect. We have said we have done more for the people of Jamaica over the last 9 years than any previous administration. I don't need to go over it, but we have stabilized the economy. We have reduced serious crimes. We have reduced poverty to its lowest level, brought unemployment to its lowest level, and I could go on and on. But we have also put out a manifesto to say that these are the things that we want to continue to build on, to continue to do more for Jamaicans. Our democracy gives persons the right to determine, to vote, to express themselves. Some have opted not to, others have done so. And at the end of the day, we are the party that they have elected. So my position, our position, is that we accept their vote of confidence in humility, with humility, and our intention is to work harder to continue to win and maintain their confidence, and hopefully to build on where we are currently. In terms of the issues that have come up, to the extent that some persons are dissatisfied, we have an opportunity to address that level of dissatisfaction as a government, and we will continue to work harder so to do.
Senator Johnson Smith, earlier in response to Mahiri's question, you posed a few questions of your own regarding the resignation of Mr. Golding and Dr. Campbell. Is it, just for clarity, is it that you're saying that they should step down?
I'm saying that these are questions that are being asked, and that another explanation as to why they have raised this, why they took the time to call a press conference to make these utterances, like the fact that they're not going to file any magisterial recounts when the time has legally passed for it, and that they have chosen to focus on a constituency that has a consistent voting pattern over years. I'm saying that a likely or a possible reason for this approach could well be to avoid the questions that are being asked in several quarters. And I stated them already. Thank you.
And my final question, I believe the PNP recently called for an independent inquiry into the election following reports of long wait times. Does the JLP agree with this call, one? And two, do you subscribe to the school of thought that these issues on election day may have played into the low voter turnout that we would have seen last Wednesday?
I believe Chris had commented initially in his opening comments about the matter of the call by the PNP for an independent inquiry, alluding to it as a smokescreen. But if he has any follow-up comments, I invite him to make them.
Well, I'd only add that there is automatically a period of review after every election. I believe the Electoral Commission will engage that review. Both members representing both political organizations as well as the independent members will be a part of that review. The JLP is still, assessing. We are confident enough, and as certified by the Electoral Commission, that the JLP won the election decisively, and we are looking forward to serving as a government into the third term. Beyond that, any review that takes place will consider all factors, and that has to be allowed, that process has to be allowed. What we will not accept and we reject, whether it is implied or it is stated, as came out at the PNP's conference, is that somehow their chance of winning the election was because of either malpractices, vote buying, or slowness of voting. We're not accepting that at all. And the Electoral Commission clearly has not accepted that. And it would be an insult to the Jamaican people, and it's certainly a discredit to the PNP to push that narrative when what the people want now is how we're going to continue to solve their problems.
Absolutely.
And that's what we are focused on. Yeah. Getting our Prime Minister duly inaugurated, our ministers, based on his own judgment, a cabinet constituted, and the rest of us as supporting team members supporting the government in a collaborative way for the benefit of the people of Jamaica. And that's why I say the PNP needs to, we understand the hurt, we understand their disappointment. They need to go lick their wounds and go behind closed doors and reflect and kind of wheel and come again. Guess what? We have all been there. Take it from a man who was lost by 13 votes and won by nearly 5,000. I've seen and experienced the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory. Political organizations are there too. But what you don't do is cry sour grapes and pretend as if the people did not speak, because they have spoken. And I think that's what I think they need to focus on, rather than this kind of, you know what I mean.
I want to just add to the point made by Dr. Tufton that I think we have to be very careful about respecting our institutions. I'm not sure how many of you followed the report of the head of the CARICOM Electoral Observer Mission here. But she said Jamaica's model, or Jamaica's electoral system, is a model for the world, and it's a model for the region. And as they are here observing, they are learning and looking at things that can be done throughout the region to improve their own systems based on ours. We have strong institutions, and a part of that is because they are respected. The people who participate in them, both the political representatives and the independent, operate with a level of integrity that allows the system to function with reviews and continued learning from its processes. Part of that is also having international observation. So we had the CARICOM mission here. We had the OAS mission here. We also had CAFE. All of these bodies have said that the election was well run, that there was no hiccup and no irregularity, no issue that would have affected the result in any way. And it was one to be recognized as a successful election. And it's in that context that it's so surprising that the PNP would still want to bring this position in calling for an independent review. Are they saying that CAFE is not a sound institution? Are they saying that CARICOM should not send electoral missions because their report is not sound? Are they saying that of the OAS electoral mission, observation mission? What are they saying? I think Jamaica needs to really take a step back and start to evaluate what the approach that the PNP has to national issues like institutions and like democracy. They say one thing and then they undermine right beside it, and it is unhealthy and disappointing. And I really am hopeful that that they will introspect, notwithstanding having had a press conference, that they'll introspect and maybe take some advice as to whether this is in fact the best route for Jamaica and the best route even for them as a party at this time.
And just before we close, another narrative pushed by the PNP during their media conference was that this was a close election. Yeah. No doubt that narrative was pushed by Mark and Date in a bid to stave off talk in their party about a potential challenge or calls for new leadership in their party. But a couple of facts must be placed on the table. The Jamaica Labour Party won the election by a comfortable 7 seats. We won the popular vote by over 10,000. And every political pundit who knows politics in Jamaica will know that there are several seats that you look to in a general election to decide or to evaluate where the election is going. I'll list about 9 of them, and in all 9, the Jamaica Labour Party won decisively. Whether you call it weather vane seats or swing seats, the Jamaica Labour Party prevailed decisively. East Rural St. Andrew won by over 800 votes. Southwest St. Elizabeth won by 1,240 votes. West St. Mary, the Jamaica Labour Party prevailed by over 900 votes. And there are a number of them, including West Central St. James. The Jamaica Labour Party won by 700 votes. If you look to St. Anne Southwest, the Jamaica Labour Party won by over 2,170 votes. St. Anne Northwest, the Jamaica Labour Party's candidate, Crystal Lee, won by over 500 votes. So the attempt by Baden Campbell and Mark Golding to suggest that this was a close election and they just fell short is another bid by the PNP to pull the wool over the eyes of the people of Jamaica. And some clarity must be had. This was not a close election. The people of Jamaica decisively rejected the lies and misinformation from the PNP and chose the party of Dr. Andrew Holness, the Jamaica Labour Party, which has been putting forward policies which are in the best interest of Jamaica. On that note, we thank the people of Jamaica again for their support. We thank them for supporting the Jamaica Labour Party, for choosing Jamaica, and for choosing the Jamaica Labour Party. Thank you much to members of the media who attended this media conference, and for those of you in Jamaica and overseas who tuned in. We appreciate your listenership and your viewership. Have a very good afternoon.